Go.
Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. So today's objective is we're going to use customary measurement capacity specifically to make a strawberry bread. So that's our ultimate objective, but we're going to use capacity. And capacity can also be known as volume too. But just a reminder, all along we've been focusing on customary units. Just to remind you, length, inches, feet, yards, and miles. And that means that you need to measure the distance of an object from one end to another. Capacity that we're working with today, that's the amount that can be held in a container, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. And then there's mass and weight, which is the amount of matter in an object as mass, and a measure of the force of gravity of an object is weight. But again, our focus and our zoom is on capacity. So these are the ingredients that we're going to be using today to make strawberry bread. All right, but first of all, the math in the recipe. The math in the recipe. What? There's math in making a recipe? Okay, so there's going to be 3 bowls that you have, and the first one is going to be the dry ingredients, which is 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon salt. And on these other little sticky notes, I don't know if you remember this, but we worked on fractions and adding them, and we'll be demonstrating later on when we're putting the stuff together how these measurements actually look in a recipe. Then there's some wet ingredients, which is sugar, 3/4 of a cup, a teaspoon vanilla, 1 large egg. But sometimes I notice that kids don't even know what a dozen means, and that means 12 eggs. Half a dozen is 6 eggs. 1/4 of a dozen is 3 eggs. We'll be looking at that when we're doing the wet ingredient bowl. And then there is 1/2 cup of milk and 1/2 cup of oil. And then there's a 3rd bowl, which is the fruit bowl, which is 2 tablespoons of flour. And just so you know, tablespoon its abbreviation is TBSP. And if you really needed to know a little bit more facts, 16 tablespoons is 1/2 ounce and 32 tablespoons is 1 ounce. Then there are 2 cups of diced strawberries. That's the main ingredient of this fabulous bread. Fruit bowl. But ultimately, that's the main recipe item for this bread we're going to make.
Okay, let me give you the camera, Miss Amanda. Okay, hi. How's my hair?
All right, so this is my sidekick, Mr. Warren.
Hi.
So, all right, let's start off. He's going to be putting in the ingredients. And the first thing he's going to do is he's going to use 1 bowl to put all of the dry ingredients in. So here's our bowl. Okay, so you're going to need 2 cups of flour. Oops, got a glare. All right, so we have 2 cups.
Miss Amanda, this one is big and it says 2 cups right up to there. But, oh, that's slick. Flour.
So that's the flour. He's going to measure out 2 cups. So I'm noticing that he has measured how much in there? 1/2 cup?
That's about 1/2 cup.
1/2 cup. Okay, so...
I'm going to put it in here.
Okay. So 1/2 cup plus...
Ooh. There was a spoon in there.
And there was a spoon in there. Whoa, those manufacturers.
All right.
So he's going to put in another 1/2 cup. So 1/2 plus 1/2 is how much? How much is 1/2 and 1/2?
2 1/2.
2 1/2s, but according to our math, 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 cup. We got 1 cup, but we need
Let me
2.
see. Let me see. Let me see. Look.
Let's make
It's
sure.
pretty close. It is about.
It is 1 cup, yeah.
All right. So you need what?
We
2
need-
more 1/2s?
Yes, 2 more.
So we'll have 4 1/2s?
Yes, so that means 1/4.
4 halves. This time I know that 2 halves is a whole, so I'm just going to put in 1 more whole.
Okay.
All right, let's
So
see here.
1 whole plus 2 halves.
1 whole. Ooh.
1 whole plus 2 halves.
All right, 1 whole.
And the
One
nice
whole.
part about measuring cups is it can be measured in halves, fourths, and thirds. Those are the standard types of measurement you'll see in a measuring cup.
All right, I got my 2 cups of flour. Where do I put them, Miss
2
Amanda?
cups of flour in the bowl.
This one's big enough, or?
Yes.
Okay. Dry ingredients.
2 cups of flour. All right, he's going to need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Here's our baking powder.
Okay.
And he needs 2 teaspoons. Now, it just so happens that I lucked out and have the correct cooking utensil, which is a teaspoon. But if you don't, there are also, this is a tablespoon, a bigger one, and there's a little one, which is a teaspoon. So if you don't have the proper equipment, one of those would definitely work. So the teaspoon is the smaller one, and we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder.
All right, so 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I'd need to have like 16 of those suckers to make half an ounce. I don't know. All right, let's see. Can I pile it on like this, Miss Amanda? Wah, wah.
I don't think so, because then you would offset the entire recipe. It has to be level.
So it needs to be level.
Yes.
All right, I'm throwing it in there. That's 1.
1 and 2.
Okay, there's your baking powder.
All right, so we now officially have all of our dry ingredients, and we need to mix that real quick.
Okay.
And then we're going to get our wet ingredients next. So as he's mixing that, just so you know, with the wet ingredients, we're going to be using some sugar, vanilla, eggs, milk, and oil. So, all right, let's keep going with this. All right, so the next thing we have is 3/4 cup of sugar. How do we do that? I know we measured half, but now we need to do 3/4. 3/4. So what is that going to look
Well, it
like?
says it right here. There's a 3 and a 4. 3 is the numerator, 4 is the denominator, 3/4.
Wow, okay, so look at that. I noticed.
So there's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and
So
it's
there's
not quite a
4.
cup.
There's 4 of them. Yeah. Okay, so 4 quarters make a cup. So we need 3 of them. 3/4.
Okay. Do you want me to do them 1/4 at a time, or so that you think the kids got that I can add 3/4 together?
I think they got it. What do you guys think?
Well, it's too late now. Let's see. I think that's pretty close.
Okay. So we got our 3/4 cup. Let's make sure. And it's always, there we go. Yep, 3/4.
A little bit of extra sugar doesn't hurt anyone. That goes in this bowl?
It goes in this bowl right here.
Okay.
Next thing we're going to need is 1 teaspoon again. We're going to need our teaspoon again. And we're going to need vanilla this time. 1 teaspoon of vanilla.
Vanilla. I'm sorry. All right, so just 1?
Just 1.
In the wet bowl.
In the wet
Miss
bowl.
Amanda, this bowl is not wet yet.
It's going to get wet.
1?
1. And there we go. Now we
Cool.
need only 1 egg. You need to crack 1 egg in there, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1?
Just 1 egg. Because this is really tricky. You have to be sometimes you can crack the egg in something separate.
Okay, now what?
Okay, and then you're going to need 1/2 cup of milk. A 1/2 cup of milk.
Okay. 1/2 cup. So that's like what we did when we started with the flour. Is it okay if I put it in with the flour?
It would be okay.
Let's see.
I'm limited on the amount of measuring cups, so 1/2 would be okay.
Oh.
Let's make sure he's got this. I think we got it. Here's
You think?
1/2. There you go. Except the bubbles make it look a little bit more, but when it settles, we're going to have the half.
Okay, I pour it in.
Pour it in. And we're going to need 1/2 cup of oil.
Oil?
Yes. So here's our vegetable oil. Not oil from a car, vegetable oil. And we're going to use 1/2 cup. So we used 1/2 cup of milk, and then we used 1/2 cup of oil. So when you add 1/2 and 1/2, that equals one full cup of oil.
Oil and
plus
milk.
Milk together.
Oil and milk together is 1 cup. Yeah, that's
1
right.
cup.
All right.
All right, so
Is that it for the ingredients in the wet bowl?
that's the ingredients of the wet bowl. So we're going to mix that up really quickly. So while he's mixing that, the last thing on our list here is going to be the fruit bowl, our third bowl. And so that's going to require 2 tablespoons of flour, and you're going to toss it in with the 2 cups of diced strawberries. So that's the next thing that's going to happen here. So
Okay.
here's our
2 tablespoons.
So we need 2 cups of strawberries and 2 tablespoons of flour.
All right, I'm going to use this 2 cup measurement if you wouldn't mind, Miss Amanda.
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. All right, so let's see here.
And you want to make sure that when you're doing the strawberries that you cut them beforehand.
Otherwise, they won't fit into the cup and take the cup shape. You
That's
can't
right.
measure their volume that way.
That's right. And the recipe calls for finely chopped strawberries.
How much more?
So far
Maybe
we
a quarter
have
cup more?
A quarter cup more to make a full 2 cups.
It's hard to measure.
That
Mashing them down.
looks great.
Really? There's extra?
Oh, I know somebody's going to want to eat the extra.
I didn't eat anything.
All right, so he's
Okay.
going to put the 2 cups of strawberries in here into the bowl.
Should I put the flour down first or not?
You're going to put the flour on top, and it's called a toss, is what the recipe calls for. You're tossing in 2 tablespoons of flour, and you're gently tossing it within the strawberries.
Okay.
And I think that has something to do with how it's going to play out in the pan and where it's going to settle in when you have
I'm ready.
the ultimate bread. You need two tablespoons. 2 tablespoons.
And you're sure I can't do it this way? I really want to. Okay, there you go.
So that's
Flattened
one.
off.
So put one in there.
It's like a sandcastle. Bap. Oh.
And here comes the second one.
Oh! It's like
All
a mini
right.
ice cream.
So then you gently toss the 2 ingredients together. All right. So the recipe says, well, he's tossing that together. So what the recipe calls for now is that we add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And this
Do we need a mixer or anything like that, Miss Amanda?
I think we
This is good enough?
we can mix it ourselves.
Okay.
So we're gonna add in the dry flour to the wet ingredients. And it's interesting how they make you like kind of mix up the dry ingredients. That must have something to do with how the cake is gonna form. So once that is fully blended and it looks really smooth and well mixed, then you throw in your strawberry mixture in there. And then lastly, you're going to put it in the pan. And of course, you're going to make sure that your oven is at 350. So you want to make sure that the oven is set and is heated to where it needs to be. So that's the last of the ingredients now, is adding in in a well blended bowl, you're going to add in your fruit, and then you're going to put it in the pan, and then you're going to bake it for 55 minutes.
Okay. I add this in too?
Yes. So
it's a lot of strawberries.
That is a lot of strawberries. It's kind of it reminded me of the banana bread, except we're using strawberries. And these are all ingredients you can have at home. So the last thing is to put the strawberries into the pan, and then you bake, and you put it in the oven. But just to remind you, today we focused on customary units, specifically capacity. And we used all the fractions that we know about from all year long, and we tied it into a meaningful way of understanding why we need to know it. So I will take a picture of the bread when it's baked, and I'll put it online. Bye, everybody. Say bye, Assistant Warren.
Bye, Assistant Warren.